We worked as pawn shops and were on TV by chance. Our case is unique because the American jewelry and loan business was famous for fighting on TV, but the real trouble started when the cameras stopped running. Someone scammed Les Gold out of $500,000 0 cents. His daughter Ashley quit the family business, and now one cast member makes $900 0 cents a year on OnlyFans. After 15 years, the truth about the Gold family's hidden fights, the fake scenes, and the other cast members is finally coming out. Sometime in 1998, a TV director called Richard Dominic was watching the Jerry Springer show and saw an ad from Detroit. There was a pawn shop owner named Les Gold in it. Les had a sharp voice, a strong stance, and an attitude that made you think about him. He wasn't forgotten by Dominic, but nothing happened right away. That short TV moment didn't become a real show for another 10 years. In 2009, True TV finally agreed with the plan. People with cameras would come into Les Gold's pawn shop. His family didn't like the idea. They weren't sure if they wanted to show their customers and their daily lives on national TV. They kept going, though. Hardcore Pawn first aired on August 16, 2010. 2 million people watched it on its first night. That made it the most watched first episode of True TV ever. People in Detroit already knew about the store, which was called American Jewelry and Loan. It opened in the Green 8 shopping center for the first time in 1978. It moved to a huge 50,000 square foot building on 8 Mile Road in 1993. About 10 people went through its doors every day. What really happened inside was shown on the show. People were mad, and fights broke out. Security had to step in and stop them. All of it was caught on camera. Some people made violent threats. Others were dragged out and yelled at. Rare items and quiet deals were what Pawn Stars was all about, but Hardcore Pawn was all about real stress. Les Gold said it was real. He thought the show showed people what it was really like to work in a pawn shop in a city where money was tight and tempers were high. That method worked. By June 2013, more than 3 million people watched each episode of the show. At the end of season 6, 4 million people saw the end. That was the most people who had ever watched True TV. It also became the most popular reality show on television on Tuesdays. But nothing stays the same forever. Things began to change in 2014. People weren't watching as much as they used to. Ratings kept going down during season 9. Some viewers started to doubt that the show was as true as it said it was. Some scenes looked like they were staged. Someone from the New York Post even questioned how real the show was. No matter what the Gold family said, there was still doubt. Rich Pyle, who was one of the most well-known people in the shop, also left at the same time to host a new National Geographic show called Meltdown. It seemed like the show was falling apart behind the scenes even more after he left. True TV was already making big changes, and in May 2013, Chris Lynn took over as head of the network. He thought that the station was focusing too much on fights. Something lighter was what he wanted. He said there would be a complete makeover in April 2014. Now, the focus was on funny things. The network knew what they wanted to do next after Impractical Jokers, which was already a hit. True TV changed its name to the new True TV for a short time in October 2014 as part of a campaign called Way More Fun. But serious reality shows didn't fit with that plan. All of the group members went their own ways after the show finished. Many businesses were still having a hard time in 2021 after the pandemic, but Les Gold was growing. In Southgate, Lincoln Park, and Hazel Park, he opened 3 new pawn shops. This wasn't a sudden change. Les had already said in 2019 that he wanted to grow further than 8 Mile Road in Detroit. The plan was all set. The time was just right. It had been decades since the costs of commercial real estate had dropped so much. The owners of the properties were eager to make deals. It was hardest to make deals in Southgate and Lincoln Park. There were talks that went on for months. Les didn't send someone else to take care of them. He stepped in and finished the deals in person with his son Seth's help. Because his family was famous on TV, he was able to get good lease terms. The builders wanted well-known names to get people to come in. That was from Les. The new shops were set up the same way as the first store, which was 50,000 square feet and was in Detroit. Their main goal was to negotiate directly with customers. This is the same method that made Hardcore Pawn a hit on True TV. The shops created almost 200 jobs in Wayne County. Years before that, in late 2016, Les did something unexpected. He was on the Food Network show Chopped, which is about cooking. No one thought a pawn shop owner would be able to handle a tough food task, but Les had learned how to cook in Detroit as a child. His parents worked long hours at the pawn shop his grandfather owned, so he had to cook his own food. He made more than just simple food. Traditional recipes from the Mediterranean were given to him by his grandfather. Those stayed with him. Les used those skills to wow the judges on Chopped. He approached the cooking task like a business deal, quickly, with clear choices and no stress. Even though he didn't win, he showed a whole new side of himself. Les held a benefit sale inside the Detroit flagship store in December 2022 to get money for the Heat and Warmth Fund. The name of the event was Hardcore Thaw. He raised $40,000, 0 cents in just 3 hours. He auctioned off 25 things that local celebrities and sports stars had given him. The most valuable prize was a signed Red Wings shirt that brought in $7.80. How did Les run the auction? Just like he runs his business. He made quick deals, put direct pressure on them, and took risks. People who were there said he ran the room from beginning to end. Les added the last $5, 0 cents himself. When the total reached $35, 0 cents, there was no news or attention, just activity. It was clear to him that this wasn't just about money. It had to do with getting people through the Michigan winter. That the company was bankrupt came from a story in 2018 about a bad business deal. Les had lost $500,000, 0 cents. That didn't make him a bad person, though. His net worth stayed the same at $5 million, 0 cents by 2025. There were still pawn shops open. His book, For What It's Worth, was the 4th most popular in the New York Times. Seth Gold didn't just work for his family business when he joined American Jewelry and Loan in 2009. He changed how he thought when he came in. Les, his father, had run the shop for many years, but Seth saw something that Les hadn't. At a time when everything was going digital, the company didn't have an online presence. That gap was a bad thing. Seth chose to fix it. It was his idea to start their first online store. It was a dangerous move at the time. Most loan shops still only took walk-in customers, but Seth thought the idea was good. It paid off in the end. They sold a lot more online. As of 2018, 30% of the business's income came from its internet side. That change not only made the store more money, it also changed how it ran. The building was only open for 9 hours a day. The online shop was open all the time. Their growth gave them speed. They added new stores in Pontiac and Hazel Park. The business was now on track to grow by 20% each year. The amount of money they made was around $5, 0 cents to $10 million, 0 cents for a pawn shop in Detroit. That was a big jump. That wasn't all Seth did. At the Pawn Expo in Las Vegas on July 17, 2013, he was named National Pawnbroker of the Year. It was the biggest award in the business. He didn't just get it from sales, he tried to change how people thought about pawn shops. He pushed for better news coverage, more community involvement, and more up-to-date ways of doing business. There was another reason why the award was unique. He beat his dad, Les. Les Gold was a star in the business, but Seth was now seen as the leader of the future. Stephen Kogler and Seth joined forces in 2014 to begin a new project. It was known as Power to the Grid. It helped people with autism get jobs. The goal was to find real work for people with certain skills. In the pawn shop, they set up a place to learn. Not just a resume was used to hire people, what they could do was also taken into account. Michael Sancho was one of the first people hired. But he couldn't find steady work even though he had a degree from Western Michigan University and was very good at Photoshop and photography. He was given a chance by Seth because Michael worked on it. Their web ads got better. That wasn't kindness. It was a smart move. Seth made it very clear these workers weren't just doing good work. They helped the business grow. Late in 2018, Seth began making plans for a new project, a second site in Detroit. It would be different this time. It would be mostly about expensive things like watches and gold. The first shop on 8 Mile mostly served people who didn't have bank accounts. Seth did not want to sell to the same people. He looked at the information in their shops. Diamonds and silver were now worth 3 times as much as gold. The desire was easy to see. Keeping an eye on new tools led to another step. In 2019, Seth and PawnMate Inc. started FastPawn together. People could pay their bills or update their loans online, so they didn't have to go to the store. It sped up and simplified the process. It was also in line with Seth's main goal. The pawn business needed to move into the future, but he didn't want to lose what made it work in the first place. Heather Gold has been with Hardcore Pawn since the beginning. It began on August 16, 2010 and ended on April 6, 2015, after 9 seasons and 162 episodes. Ashley worked at American Jewelry and Loan with her dad Les and brother Seth. The store was in a huge 1.5 million square foot building on Detroit's 8 Mile Road. From the outside, it looked like a crazy, fast-paced business where people were arguing and making deals. For Ashley, though, it turned into something else. By 2015, she was ready to give up. It felt the same every day. Every morning, she would dress in the same black sweater, pants, and shoes. Then she would do the same things. It was her Groundhog Day moment, she said in a 2016 interview. She knew she wasn't happy anymore because her health was getting worse and her family life was falling apart. On the show, there was always trouble between Ashley and Les. They always had disagreements. Things were not better behind the scenes. Seth had his own thoughts about how to sell. Les stuck to what he knew. She was stuck in the middle. Besides that, the cameras were always rolling. Every fight turned into a show. The worry grew over time. She knew she couldn't stay. By the beginning of 2015, it wasn't easy to leave. The business was run by her family, but Ashley didn't just want to be known as Les Gold's daughter. She wished she had her own life. In the fall of that same year, 2015, she started Handchick Shopping. It began online with new jewelry that she chose herself. She went all over the country to find the newest styles. At any given time, her store had about 500 things. Fashion jewelry for $15.00, and expensive gold worth up to $3.00 were sold there. In talks, she said that people believed in her style. She dressed famous people and got clients from all over the country. Her store kept getting bigger because of her. Ashley changed the name of her business to Ashley in 2019. It was the same year she won the Verge pitch competition put on by the Detroit Garment Group. She had already been on the Today Show, CNN, Fox News, HLN, Good Morning America, and CNN. She had made her TV fame real. In March of that year, she began a show called Pawn Chick. Every week she talked to guests about clothes and her own life. But she also started being honest about hardcore pawn. She didn't say everything, but she did reveal what a lot of people already knew. Some of the show's scenes were fake. A guest named Big Daddy said in one show that he saw people being told what to say. Ashley talked about how the makers tried to make things conflictual. They wanted to argue. Hardcore Pawn was more about action than Pawn Stars, which was about history and worth. That made the show more well-known, but it also made things more difficult. Ashley's life changed again when the pandemic hit in 2020. After the snow day, schools were closed and parents had to help their kids with their online lessons. Ashley was a mom of two. In 2017, they were 8 and 10 years old. In 2020, they will be 13 and 15 years old. She ran her business and helped them with school from home. She was no longer working 70 hours a week. She wasn't filming episodes all the time. She now drove the bus and helped kids with their homework. She had made plans for her life that let her spend time with her family. Seth told them that making their online listings better wasn't a gesture of kindness, it was good business. Not only were these workers doing good work, they were also making the business grow. Late in 2018, Seth began making plans for a new project, a second site in Detroit. This one would be different. It would be all about high-end things like watches and jewelry. The first store on 8 Mile mostly served people who didn't have bank accounts, but Seth wanted to reach a different group. Based on what he saw in their shops, silver and diamonds were now selling for 3 times as much as gold. The desire was easy to see. Keeping an eye on new tools led to another step. In 2019, Seth and PawnMate Inc. started Fast Pawn together. People could update their loans or make payments online, so they didn't have to go to the store. Seth's main goal was to bring the loan business into the modern world without losing what made it work in the first place. This made the process faster and easier. Heather Gold has been with Hardcore Pawn since the beginning. It began on August 16, 2010, and ended on April 6, 2015, after 9 seasons and 162 episodes. Ashley worked at American Jewelry and Loan with her father, Les, and brother, Seth. The business was in a huge 150-square-foot building on 8 Mile Road in Detroit. People watching thought it was a crazy, fast-paced business full of fights and deals, but for Ashley, it turned into something else. By 2015, she was ready to give up. It felt the same every day. Every morning, she would dress in the same black sweater, pants, and shoes. Then she would do the same things. It was her Groundhog Day moment, she said in a 2016 interview. She knew she wasn't happy anymore because her health was getting worse and her family life was falling apart. On the show, there was always trouble between Ashley and Les. They always had disagreements. Things were not better behind the scenes. Seth had his own ideas about how to sell, but Les stuck to what had always been done. She was stuck in the middle. Besides that, the cameras were always rolling. Every fight turned into a show. The worry grew over time. Ashley knew she couldn't stay by the beginning of 2015. It wasn't easy for Ashley to leave because this was her family's business, but she didn't just want to be known as Les Gold's daughter. She wished she had her own life. In the fall of that same year, 2015, she started Handchick Shopping. It began online with new jewelry that she chose herself. She went all over the country to find the newest styles. At any given time, her store had about 500 things. Fashion jewelry for $15.00 and expensive gold worth up to $3.00 were sold there. In talks, she said that people believed in her style. She dressed famous people and got clients from all over the country. Her store kept getting bigger because of her. Ashley changed the name of her business to Ashley in 2019. It was the same year she won the Verge pitch competition put on by the Detroit Garment Group. She had already been on the Today Show, CNN, Fox News, HLN, Good Morning America, and CNN. She had made her TV fame real. In March of that year, she began a show called Pawn Chick. Every week, she talked to guests about clothes and her own life, but she also started being honest about hardcore pawn. She didn't say everything, but she did reveal what a lot of people already knew. Some of the show's scenes were fake. A guest named Big Daddy said in one show that he saw people being told what to say. Ashley talked about how the makers tried to make things conflictual. They wanted to argue. Hardcore Pawn was more about action than Pawn Stars, which was about history and worth. That made the show more well-known, but it also made things more difficult. Ashley's life changed again when the pandemic hit in 2020. After the snow day, schools were closed and parents had to help their kids with their online lessons. Ashley was a mom of two. In 2017, they were 8 and 10 years old. In 2020, they will be 13 and 15 years old. She ran her business and helped them with school from home. She was no longer working 70 hours a week. She wasn't filming episodes all the time. She now drove the bus and helped kids with their homework. She had made plans for her life that let her spend time with her family. Rich Pyle worked at American Jewelry and Loan in Detroit for 25 years. He began working for the company when he was young and stayed with it as it grew. He was one of the most recognizable names on Hardcore Pawn by 2012. It was his curled hair, long beard, and sure of himself that made him stand out. Things changed, though, that same year. On the show, what seemed like a small fight turned out to be the start of a much bigger problem. There were big worries after an internal report. It looked like Rich might have used work credit cards to buy things for himself. Some news stories said he also lied about refund claims. While the cameras were rolling, Les Gold talked to him. Rich didn't hide anything. He said that his years of service should be more important than any mistake. He said he cared about the business more than Seth and Ashley, Les's own children. Things got worse because of that. He was told to leave the store right away by Les. In just a few heated minutes, their 25-year friendship came to an end on video. The next morning, Rich came back. It was October 2012. And he wished for another chance. He got there early and looked scared. He wanted to say sorry and keep his job. Seth set up a meeting to try to help. He told Les that they needed Rich's skills and the way he interacted with people, but Les wasn't interested. He said the shop couldn't risk anything because of the audit. The meeting was over in less than 20 minutes. Rich quit the business, and soon after he was taken off the show. It was after leaving Detroit that Rich went to Los Angeles. He tried to start his own gold business, but it didn't work out. He then did something he hadn't planned to do in 2018. He became the host of a show called Whole Nation, which followed the American Cornhole organization across the country. Rich brought the same excitement from the pawn shop to cornhole. He was in charge of the AquaZone tasks and made events fun for everyone. Tracy, his wife, helped film the show, which made it feel like a small family business, like the pawn shop. A sport that most people had never seen on TV before helped Rich get more fans and make a name for himself. Rich began to talk about how hardcore pawn really worked, without breaking his deal over time. He made it sound like a lot of the drama was planned. He said that they looked for people outside the store and gave them parts to play. They would make them sign forms, letting them go and do what they were told. Someone from Detroit even said that the store wasn't stocked enough on purpose, so customers would get mad. A few of the rare things that were shown on the show were also fakes. They were found online, and people were brought in to make it look real. Rich agreed that real deals did still happen, but by 2013 and 2014, most of the big fights were fake or acted out. Bobby Yannick never meant to become a reality TV star. He joined American Jewelry and Loan during the first season of Hardcore Pawn just to get a job. He didn't know that the shop was going to be on TV all over the country. Bobby was hired by Seth Gold to do basic marketing work, mostly with T-shirts. But as soon as he walked in, producers were already setting up cameras. He started out in something much bigger than shopping. The more the shooting went on, the more Bobby was involved. What began as work in the background slowly turned into regular time in front of the screen. Because of how energetic he was, Bobby filled in for Rich Pyle when he left the show. The producers quickly asked him if he wanted to be in more shows. He said yes, and that choice changed the way his career went. Bobby worked at the pawn shop until 2016, even after the show ended in 2015. He never came back to the shop again after he left, though. Bobby slowly started telling the truth about what went on behind the scenes in social media and conversations. He talked about how the show put entertainment over real life. The pawn shop was real, but the way it was shown didn't always match up with reality. Bobby says that the directors knew exactly what they wanted: drama, strife, and strong characters. Pay was very low. Millions of people watched because of cast members like him, but not everyone made the same amount of money. While the Gold family did well, the supporting group did not. Bobby said that producers would say things like once-in-a-lifetime opportunity in order to avoid rising wages when they were negotiating contracts. It was about being seen over being fair. He also talked about how group members had to live up to their roles even when the cameras were off. That fuzzy line was getting old. He even talked about firing Rich Pyle in one of his popular TikTok videos, which suggested that what happened behind the scenes was often worse than what was shown on TV. Bobby found something better after he quit the pawn shop business. He was asked to be a spokesperson for Bars Products, a big name in car repair, in 2017. Bobby was a great choice because he was comfortable on camera and had a lot of charm. It was worth $175,000, 0 cents a year, which is more than twice as much as what he made at the pawn shop. He became the brand's face and went to trade shows and was in more than 30 ads. That partnership not only gave him a steady income, but it also gave him a stage. Bobby was using social media to spread the word about the brand even more by 2019. His support grew quickly, and the plan worked. Bobby worked to get Bars products into more than 40 Zero shops across the country. In 2021, things changed once more. Bobby changed in a way that no one expected. After doing audio work for radio stations in Michigan, he made an OnlyFans account with inappropriate material. It had over 15,000 members paying almost $30, 0 cents a month in 3 months. For many hardcore pawn fans, the change felt like giving up on the game. People were angry right away, especially on Facebook and Reddit, but Bobby didn't give up. In a radio chat, he talked about how the voiceover work wasn't paying the bills, payments were not always made, and chances were few and far between. On the other hand, OnlyFans gave you both power and money. It was a business choice he stuck to. Then there was trouble with the law. Warner Brothers Discovery, which owns True TV, sent Bobby a letter telling him to stop in September 2023. It was a 12-page document that said he used show video and branding on his personal website and social media without approval. They gave 37 detailed examples, such as videos he used in a YouTube show where he talked about old episodes. More than 500 people watched that show in just 3 months. Bobby had even put screenshots on flyers for public speaking gigs where he could make up to $5,000, 0 cents per show. Warner Brothers made it clear that he did not own the show's material. By November, Bobby had taken down all of his online pages that mentioned hardcore pawn. At American Jewelry and Loan, everything changed in March 2012. Joel "Big Joe" Shannon had been the head of security for 3 years. He was believed in. Les Gold hired him himself and even asked him to family events. He then stole, though, and secret cameras caught him. It happened over the course of several weeks, not just once. He only took a small amount of scrap gold each time so no one would notice right away, but all of it came to about $7.00. During season 6, the arrest was caught on video. While the movie was being filmed, police walked into the shop and arrested Shannon in front of Les. It's clear in Les's voice when he says, "This is my loyal head of security that I trust." He was shocked. It hurt a lot to be betrayed. Shannon lost her job right away and was charged with illegal theft. The people didn't like it, and it changed the show. Big Joe didn't go away, though. Late in 2016, he started over. In Livonia, Michigan, he opened a business called High G Gear Transportation. At first, there were only 2 cars making supplies in the area. He turned it into a regional business over time. The business had 15 trucks by 2023 and served customers all over the Midwest. Shannon kept in touch with the Gold family in some small way after everything they went through. By 2019, High Gear was being hired by Seth Gold to carry things between stores. It took time to rebuild trust. They got it done in almost 3 years. Shannon is now a well-known and admired business owner in Livonia, where she has hired more than 20 people. What began as an incident turned into a story about how people can change. After that, there was Fielding Teichman, who was also known as Felix. A lot of people liked him because he was always ready to step in and keep things cool. But he stopped being on the show without giving a reason in early 2015. Something went wrong with the deal behind the scenes. Felix asked for a raise when they were talking about season 8. As his role and fame grew, he wanted a bigger pay. The company that makes movies said no. Things got heated, and in February 2015, Teichman left the set of a movie while it was shooting. The group was thrown into chaos. They hadn't planned to get someone else in here so quickly. He later paid a lawyer to try to start talks again, but the show had already ended. Since new security staff had been hired, the directors didn't want to look back. He had moved to Austin, Texas. By 2016, he turned down interviews and stayed out of the public eye. He left that part of his life behind because he wanted to. These were not scenes from a TV show. They were real people who did real things. In these stories, the tense and dramatic parts were written to show what happened when things got too real to hide.